Sir Isaac Newton is widely considered one of the smartest human beings who ever lived. He discovered gravity and he invented calculus. He deciphered the laws of the universe that govern the motion of planets. But there was one force of nature that even Newton could not calculate. That force was human madness. In the year 1720, the great genius lost a fortune in the stock market. He fell victim to the South Sea bubble. It was a financial disaster so massive that it almost bankrupted the British Empire. To understand this story, we must travel to London in the early 18th century. Britain was drowning in debt after years of expensive wars. The government owed millions and they had no way to pay it back. They needed a miracle, and that miracle appeared in the form of a company. The South Sea Company was founded with a grand promise. They told investors they had the exclusive right to trade with the Spanish colonies in South America. They promised mountains of gold and silver and exotic spices. There was just one small problem. Spain and Britain were at war. The Spanish Navy controlled those waters and they were not letting British ships anywhere near them. The South Sea Company was a business with no business. It was a shell company that generated almost no profit from trade, but that did not matter. The directors of the company were masters of marketing and manipulation. They bribed politicians to support the company. They spread rumors about secret treaties that would open up the ports of Peru and Mexico. They created a fear of missing out that swept across London like a fever. Everyone wanted a piece of the action. Lords and ladies sold their jewelry to buy shares. Servants pooled their wages to buy a fraction of a share. And of course Isaac Newton invested too. Newton was not a gambler, but he was a wealthy man. He bought shares early and the price was low. As the hype grew, the price started to climb. Newton watched his money grow and he made a smart decision. He sold his shares and pocketed a profit of £7,000. That was a huge amount of money in 1720. He had doubled his investment and got out safely. He should have been happy, but then he made the fatal mistake. He watched the stock price continue to go up. He saw his friends who had stayed in the market getting richer than him. People with half his intelligence were making fortunes overnight. Newton could not handle the envy. He forgot his logic and he let his emotions take over. He jumped back into the market near the very top. He put almost everything he had into the South Sea Company. The mania in London reached absurd levels. Other fake companies started popping up to take advantage of the greed. One company raised money for a wheel for perpetual motion. Another company famously asked for investment for an undertaking of great advantage, but nobody to know what it is. People were throwing money at anything that sounded like a quick profit. The stock of the South Sea Company went from £100 to £1,000 in a single year. But gravity works in finance just as it does in physics. What goes up must come down. In the autumn of 1720, the music stopped. The directors of the company knew the game was up and they started selling their shares secretly. When the news leak panic set in, the sell-off was violent. There were no buyers, only sellers. The stock price collapsed straight down. Thousands of families were ruined instantly. Suicides increased across London. The British economy went into a deep recession that lasted for years. And Isaac Newton was devastated. He lost £20,000. In today's money, that is roughly $3 to $4 million, it was the majority of his life savings. The man who could predict the movement of comets years in advance could not predict the behavior of a crowd. He spent the rest of his life hating the South Sea Company. He even forbid people from speaking the word South Sea in his presence. Before he died, he famously said a quote that summarizes the entire event. "I can calculate the motion of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people." This story teaches us a critical lesson about investing. Intelligence does not protect you from greed. IQ is not the same as EQ. You can be the smartest person in the room and still be the biggest fool in the market. The South Sea bubble was created by storytelling and hype, not by real value. It was the first time a government and a corporation worked together to scam the public. And if you look at the markets today, you might see the same pattern. Companies with no profit but huge promises. Influencers pumping stocks that have no value. The technology changes, but the human psychology remains exactly the same. Isaac Newton learned his lesson the hard way. Hopefully by watching this you can learn it for free. If you want to survive the next crash, you must master your emotions, not just the math. Subscribe to Hidden Logic to discover the history they do not teach you in school. In the next video, we will look at the darkest day in American history. Today, the Roaring Twenties, and silent. See you in the next one.